So the transfer window is now closed until January, after one of the craziest summers in Premier League history, with more money being spent than ever before. Now that the dust has settled, we're going to rate every Premier League's transfer business over the next 2 days, starting with Arsenal. In short, this summer has been a rough one for Arsenal. The Gunners brought in Alexander Lacazette for £46 million, who should bring the consistent source of goals they need, as well as adding Sead Kolasinac on a free. They teased a move for Thomas Lemar all summer without pulling the trigger, then hit the panic button on deadline day when it looked like Alexis Sanchez was heading to Man City, offering Monaco £92 million for the Frenchman. Neither deal happened, and an unhappy Alexis Sanchez remains an Arsenal player, and the Gunners still look very short defensively for a team that will want to challenge for the title and get back in the Champions League. It's a 3.5 out of 10 for Arsenal and would be even lower if Sanchez had gone. Next we've got Bournemouth, who did the sensible thing and got all their business done early on in the summer. The Cherries brought in Asmir Begovic from Chelsea, who will end their goalkeeping woes, as well as completing a permanent deal for Nathan Ake, who completed a club record transfer to the Vitality after doing brilliantly on loan last season. Jermaine Defoe arrived on a free from Sunderland to add more goals to the side, lifting the pressure off Josh King, who also signed a new deal to remain at the club, so it's been a pretty good summer for Eddie Howe. It's been a tough start to the season, but their transfer business gets a 7.5 out of 10. Next up, it's Premier League new boys Brighton, who have been very busy over the summer, but haven't completed too many deals that will have turned heads. Izzy Brown arrived on loan from Chelsea, while the signing of Davy Propper from PSV is probably the most exciting deal completed by Chris Hughton's side. They paid a club record fee for Jose Izquierdo, or however you say it, from Club Bruges, but the lack of a goal scorer arriving at the Amex could be a big worry, with Vincent Janssen turning down a deadline day move. Their unknown signings could come up trumps, but until then it's a 3.5 out of 10 for Brighton. Up north we go with Burnley, and Sean Dyche has to be very happy with his transfer dealings over the course of the summer. While they did lose Michael Keane and Andre Gray to Everton and Watford respectively, the incomings at Turf Moor will certainly have pleased fans, with Dyche bringing in players that will clearly work well in his team, such as Jack Cork, Jonathan Walters and Chris Wood, as well as the deadline day arrival of Naki Wells, who should be a like-for-like replacement for Andre Gray. They may be a centre-back light, but it's a 7.5 out of 10 for Burnley. Up next we've got Chelsea, and it's been another dramatic summer at Stamford Bridge, and it's kind of been all their own fault. There have been so many outgoings at Chelsea, which has left Antonio Conte's side a bit short early on in the season, unable to turn to the young lads in his squad as they've all been sent out on loan. The Diego Costa saga has dominated the Chelsea headlines, but the signing of Alvaro Morata means they won't miss the angry striker's presence. The deadline day deal for Zappacosta from Torino could prove to be a shrewd one, but the departure of Nemanja Matic looks like it's going to bite them on the arse, because there's no way that Danny Drinkwater is a viable replacement for the Serbian. On top of that, the Ross Bartlett fiasco was a bit embarrassing, and it'll go down as a disappointing summer for Conte, who's missed out on more targets than he signed. A 5 out of 10 for the champions. Next we've got Crystal Palace, whose big signing was bringing in Frank de Boer as manager, but it hasn't been a pretty start for the Dutchman. Palace have lost all 3 of their opening Premier League games and haven't made many waves in the transfer market. Timothy Fosu-Mensah and Ruben Loftus-Cheek have arrived on loan, with Jairo Riedewald coming in permanently from Ajax. They've kept a hold of key players such as Wilfried Zaha and Christian Benteke, but Frank de Boer has to be concerned about the lack of new players, which will make their disappointing start even tougher to take. The deadline day signing of Mamadou Sakho will have improved the mood at Selhurst Park, but that isn't enough to save a poor summer. It's a 3 out of 10 for Crystal Palace's transfer business. Up the Merseyside we go with Everton, and the Toffees have been very busy this summer. You'd think it would be doom and gloom at Goodison following the sale of Romelu Lukaku, but the Belgian is a bit of an afterthought now, with Ronald Koeman's signings making the Belgian's departure painless. Everton have spent huge money on the likes of Michael Keane, Jordan Pickford and Gylfi Sigurdsson, while there was also the emotional return of Wayne Rooney and the bargain signing of Sandro Ramirez. It's been a great transfer window for Everton, so we're giving them a 9 out of 10, and they were only a huge strike away from a perfect window. Next we've got another promoted side, Huddersfield Town. David Wagner will be ecstatic with his side start life in the Premier League, and he'll also be happy with the impact his new signings have made. Jonas Lossell is yet to concede a Premier League goal, while striker Steve Mounier bagged twice on his debut to give the Terriers victory over Crystal Palace on the opening day. The permanent signing of Aaron Moy has to be their best bit of business though, in what has been a very productive summer. It's a 7.5 out of 10 for Huddersfield Town. Off to Leicester now, and it's been an interesting one for the Foxes. They've brought in some really impressive players, with Harry Maguire's arrival looking like their best piece of business, and to be able to get Kelechi Iheanacho could be a fantastic acquisition for Craig Shakespeare. Losing Danny Drinkwater to Chelsea will certainly hurt the fans, as he was such an important player during the title-winning campaign. But surely Adrian Silva has to be considered an improvement, and they've managed to make a profit, so sentiment aside, win-win. The Mahrez situation isn't great, with the Algerian remaining a Leicester player despite his best efforts, but his attitude was still spot on during the early weeks of the season. It's a 5.5 out of 10 for Leicester City. And to end part 1, we've got Liverpool. As soon as Neymar moved to PSG, it looked all but certain that Philippe Coutinho would head to the new camp to replace him. That hasn't happened though, with Liverpool resisting bids of more than 100 million quid for the Brazilian. On top of that, they've added the marvellous Mohamed Salah to their side, Scotland left-back Andy Robertson, and England international Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain on deadline day, who will look to get his career going once again in the right direction. Good signings from Jurgen Klopp, but the lack of a centre-back is very alarming and casts a dark cloud over the Reds this summer. However, we're going to give Liverpool a 6.5 out of 10. So that's the end of part 1. Join us tomorrow for part 2 that begins with Manchester City, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe.